Um, Last year in your pre-algebra class, right, we did this Algebra 1 unit. All right, so I know it's kind of a review. All right, if you don't remember, that's okay. I'll go through everything with you. But again, it's very easy, but you have to know the vocabulary. All right, and generally math, there's not a whole lot of vocabulary, but today there is. All right, so the first thing I want you to do is, for question number 1, is express the relation as a table, a graph, and a mapping. All right, now first of all, I want you to know what a relation means. And a relation is just a set of ordered pairs. That's all it is. All right? Is everybody with me on that? So relation is just simply a set of ordered pairs. All right? Now, you can list those ordered pairs multiple ways. You can list them using a what? You can list them using a table. You can list them using a graph. And one that we won't ever use, but I want to show you. All right? It's old school is what I say. Or as a mapping. All right? So we're never going to use something as a mapping, but it might come up as a multiple choice question on a test. All right? That's why I kind of want you to look at it. All right? Then you have to determine the what? Does anybody know what the domain is? Does anybody remember? It's like the what?
It's like the first number in the order.
That's exactly right. Which is the
X.
The x values. Very good. All right, so the domain is just a list of all the x values. And then the range would be a list of all the
second number.
Which is
range.
the
Y values.
Perfect. Right? So the domain is just a list of the x, and the range is a list of the y's. That's all there is to it. All right? Now, number 1 is a relation because it's a set of ordered pairs. Now what we're going to do is we're going to list the sort of the relation as a table. So what I did down here was I scrolled this down, and I just made question number 1 on a different page. So it'd be easy for you to demonstrate, or easy for me to demonstrate that. All right, so as a table, all right, I know you know what a table is, but we're just going to go ahead and give it a shot. All right, you're just going to make an X and Y table is what they say. And then you're going to list the X values. Sorry, that's not as dark as I want it to be. All right, I think that's a little better. You have X and Y. All right, now what are the X values? 4, -2, and 5. Is everybody with me on this? And then the Y values are just what? 3.
6.
I told you it's very, very simple. Very, very simple. All right? So I know you already know that, but we have to review. All right? Next thing we're going to do is we're going to do a graph. Now, normally I'd give you graph paper, but this was so easy, we don't have to worry about the graph paper. We're just going to sketch it by hand. And let me show you what I mean by sketch it by hand. You just need to make a what? Right? Does everybody remember? This is the x-axis. This is the y-axis. Now you're going to graph 4, 3, right? So you're going to go over what? 1, 2, 3, 4, and up 3. 1, 2, 3. It doesn't have to be exact. It just helps me see that you know how to plot points still. Then you have to graph -2, 2. You have to graph -2, 2. So, -2, 2 would be right there. Anybody have any questions with plotting points? And then the final one would be 5, -6. So you go over 5 and then down 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So you'd be roughly right around there. So everybody see how simple that is? All right, I know you know how to do that. All right. Now, the one that most people don't know is the mapping. All right, again, very simple. 2 little ovals here. And the first one is D and the second one is what? R. Now, the only difference here is, you know, and I don't know if your book always does it in this order, but generally when you're writing a mapping, you write from small to large. So what are the x coordinates from small to large? -2, 4, and 5. And then the range from small to large would be what?
-6, 2, 3.
Exactly correct. Is everybody happy with that so far?
Yeah.
Now, the -2 corresponds to what?
2.
So that's how you draw the mapping. The 4 corresponds to the,
3.
so you just draw an arrow. And then the 5 corresponds to the what?
-6.
-6. So that's considered a mapping. I know, it's very easy. All right, super easy.
So the XY with the tables is the relation.
Yes, these are all 3 different ways of writing a relation. All right. You can list it as a set of ordered pairs, a table, a graph, or what's referred to as a mapping. All right, and remember the domain is simply the X, and the range is the what? Y. Does everybody agree? Simple, right? All right, so now we're done with question number 1. Let's go back now and see what's going on. Number 2 is kind of easy. All right. Now, the next thing you want to look at is identify the independent and dependent variables for each relation. So basically, we're going to learn this year a lot about lines, and we say independent and dependent. All right? The independent is referring to the X, right? And the dependent is referring to the Y. I think that was part of the IXL homework, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, so you guys should be somewhat familiar with it. All right, so independent is X, and the dependent is the Y. And what I normally like to say is X can be anything, and Y depends on whatever X is. All right, is everybody with me on that? So X is independent, and Y is the dependent. So now if I look at question number 3, it says increasing the temperature of a compound inside a sealed container increases the pressure inside a sealed container. So now I'm just going to ask you, what is the independent and what is the dependent? But before you answer that question, I'd like to ask, what 2 things are we talking about? What 2 things are we talking about in this particular case? Anybody want to give it a shot? Tell me.
The temperature
We're talking about the temperature,
and the pressure inside.
and we're talking about the pressure. That is exactly correct. Very easy. So now you're just going to tell me that temperature is the,
Independent.
and the pressure is the,
Dependent.
because the pressure depends upon the
Temperature.
temperature. I'm agreeing with you guys. It's really, really simple. Really simple. But these are just some vocabulary words that you have to be careful of. All right? Now let's take a look at question number 4. All right? Mike's cell phone is part of a family plan. If he uses more minutes than his share, then there are few minutes available for the rest of his family. So I need a volunteer to tell me what 2 things we are discussing. Tell me.
The minutes in his share and the minutes for the rest of the family.
Exactly. Now who is his? Who are we talking about? That's right. We're talking about Mike's cell phone and his what? His family's. That's exactly correct. All right, so now why don't you help me out? Mike is the what?
Independent.
And his family is the? Very easy. I told you. Very simple. Is everybody good with that? All right. Let's try one more. Number 5. All right, somebody different. Speak up. Julian is buying concert tickets for himself and his friends. The more concert tickets he buys, the greater the cost. Dalton, what do you think?
Tickets and cost.
The tickets and the cost. That's how simple. Tickets and cost. And so tickets we would say is the, and the cost is the,
Dependent.
which makes sense, right?
Yeah.
The cost of the tickets depend upon
The tickets.
how many you buy. Exactly. All right. So again, I think we're pretty good with that. Is everybody good? All right. Now, one of the things that they're really trying to get better at is interpreting graphs. All right. And so that's what's next. Now listen, guys. On the test, it's going to be like a multiple choice thing. All right. I'm not expecting you to make your own make something up, right? I just want you to look at the explanations and see what it matches, all right? So in here, all right, we have a graph, and we're supposed to make up something that fits the graph, all right? So the first thing we need to find out here is the two variables. The two variables are obviously, I know you know, distance, which is the what? Independent, or yes, it is the, now it's on what axis? Y, so that's the what?
Range.
Range, or the dependent, and the time is the what?
Independent.
Independent, which is also the X, which is also the domain. Now you see how so many different words for the same thing, correct? That's why it's kind of annoying. I wish they would have just picked one word and stuck with it. But there's lots of different words for the same thing. Is everybody with me on this? All right. So now what we're going to do is we're going to try to talk about some kind of situation in which this graph could fit our story. All right. Now, again, I don't really like having you make up stories. I prefer that you kind of listen and see if this story makes sense to you. All right. So what I did was I said we're leaving our home. So right here is my home. All right. And I get in my car and I start driving. Now the question is, am I driving at the same speed all the time?
No.
You're right, I'm not. Now what I want to do is I want to ask you this question. Am I driving the same speed from here to here?
Yes.
Very good. So you remember what that line, how can I tell? What's that word called? Do you remember?
Slope.
Yes, it is. Very smart. It is in fact the slope. All right? And we're going to talk a whole bunch about slope this year. But right now it's a straight line, or it's a line that's remaining the same. All right? That means, for example, you got in your car and you're driving 20 miles an hour. All right? Then you get to this moment in time right here. And I need someone to tell me what's happening from here to here.
You're going a different speed.
What do you think?
You're going at a different speed.
I'm definitely going at a different speed, but that speed is actually, you're not moving. Why am I not moving?
Stop it.
The distance is not what? The distance is not changing. So for example, if this was, let's say this was 5 miles. How far are you from your house?
5 miles.
5 miles. So anywhere along that purple track, I'm still what? 5 miles, which somebody said brilliantly, you're like at a stoplight. All right, so you're driving, and then all of a sudden you come to a stoplight, so you have to what? Stop. All right, then what happens? Yeah, the light goes green. Now you're heading out again. Now the question is, are you going the same speed?
No.
Would you say a little faster, a little slower, or maybe, I don't know.
Faster.
All right, let me show you why I like the iPad. All right, let's see. This line compared to this line. What do you think? Just a what? Just a little bit faster.
Yeah.
Just a little bit faster. Does that make sense? All right. So if we were going 30 miles per hour, we might be going now like what? 32 miles per hour. Is everybody good on this? All right. So now we're going to head off. All right. And let me see if I can make it so. Now we're going here. Somebody tell me what happened now. What do you think?
Your speed decreased, but you're still moving.
Very, very smart. Couldn't have said it better. Your speed went down, but you're still moving what? Still moving forward. Does everybody agree with that?
Yes.
All right. Now, how do I know I'm going slower? Because we would compare what's referred to as the slope. If I did this right here and compared, right, it's less. Do you agree?
Yes.
Now, let me show you something right here. Pay attention now. This right here means you're not moving, correct?
Yeah.
As you get steeper, that means you're going what?
Faster.
That kind of makes sense, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Right? And then all of a sudden, when you get higher and higher, that just means your speed is getting faster and faster. Yes?
So it's like the angle?
Yeah, you can kind of say it's the angle. But angles can be somewhat deceptive. All right, what we're really looking at is the line in relationship to 0. That means you're not going anywhere. Now you're increasing. You with me on this? All right. So, all right, that's a good little story. Now, again, obviously, I don't really care about you guys making up your own story, right? I would like you to look at that and say, yeah, what he said kind of makes sense, all right? And if it didn't make sense, you can listen to the story again tonight, all right? But I don't think that's really that necessary, all right? Is everybody good with that?
Yep.
Now, let's just look at question number 8, all right? Let's look at question number 8, all right? Because there's a difference here. Because you're going what? Up and what?
Down.
And staying
The same.
staying the same. All right. So what I really want to look at is this is your sales, right? Over here, this is the sales, and this is your what? Time. All right. Now, again, if we start out here, right? I kind of liken this to, this came to my mind. I have no idea why it comes to my mind, because my son does Fortnite all the time. He's grown and he still does Fortnite. So he's actually very good at it, but this reminded me of that. All right. Now, why do I say that? Because Fortnite, when it came out, it had to become popular. Do you agree? So what happened is it came onto the market and people started what? Liking it, so they kept buying it. Does everybody agree with that? Now, somebody try to describe for me what they think is happening from here to here. What do you think?
I think that it went below, like it was moving, but it was decreasing.
Exactly correct. So, are they still making sales?
Yes, but they're making less.
But they're making less. That's exactly correct. Exactly what you said, right? So the sales is still increasing, but at a slower rate. Does that make sense, guys? And then let's say all of a sudden there was a glitch or something in the game and it wasn't as good. And then what happened? From here to here, they fixed it. Uh-oh, I want to change the color. So from here to here, they fixed it. So now what happened? It became what again? It became popular again, so people were starting to get on it again, which is true, right? I think everybody in the world plays Fortnite now, right? Then all of a sudden, from here to here, what's happening?
They're not making any sales.
They're making sales,
Same amount of sales.
but it's the same amount. For example, let me give you an example. If, for example, this was like, let's just get crazy. Let's say that was 100,000 copies of the game. Every day they're selling what? 100,000. Does that make sense? All right, so they're still making sales. It's just not what? It's not going higher or lower, right? It's remaining the same. Then all of a sudden, it gets released overseas, and now guess what? It goes up even what? They're selling even more. They're selling even more. Does everybody see that now? So that's kind of the situation. So I want you to make sure that you're listening to me carefully now. Here, I'm trying to get you to think about it, so listen to what I'm saying. They're still making sales, but the sales weren't as much as the previous day. Does that make sense? And then from here now, the sales went back to increasing. Still making sales, and it's increasing more each day. So everybody with me on this? All right. So again, that's kind of what you're going to be expected to do, is be able to look at graphs and kind of make a generalization of what's happening. And now you understand why I'm not expecting you to write all that out, correct? I don't want you to write all that out. I want you to say, wow, that makes pretty good sense, right? It makes so much sense that if you saw it on a multiple choice, A, B, C, D, you could figure out which one it is. Is everybody with me on that? All right, I think that's a pretty good lesson. All right. Now, again, your job tonight is to just do the what? Just do the odds. And the other thing I want you to try to do, but not in class, is make your test what? I want you to make your test corrections. All right, is everybody with me? And then when you come to class tomorrow, I'm going to collect your homework. All right, I'm going to collect your homework. All right, because it's on paper. And then I'm going to give you a grade for that. And then I'm going to go over any questions you had on your homework or on your test. All right, but that's also available online that you can look it up. All right, is everybody with me? Now, one other thing now, before I get you started, is I want everybody to go to Google Classroom real quick. All right, here's the important information. Go to Google Classroom for me. And this is section 1-6. So I want you to go to Google Classroom, and then I want you to look at what's in your algebra class. And what is in there right now besides the review?
Section 1 through 6 solutions.
Well, that's actually not section 1 through 6, but that's section 1-6.
That's what I meant.
So what are we working on tonight? What's our homework?
The odds.
Right, and we're doing specifically section.
1 through 6.
Now, here's what I'm trying to tell you. If you click on that for me, click on that. What pops up? The solutions. All right, now I talked to your parents at open house about the solutions. They're for you to use in case you're going, man, I am not sure about number 13. So then you go in and you look at question 13, and it's somebody who's worked it out, not just given the answer. Because a lot of times I remember when I was first figuring out math, I could look at the answer, but sometimes the answer didn't help me. Right? It was the method of getting to the answer. All right, so if you're thinking to yourself, man, I don't know how to get to the answer, rather than just write down the answer, I'd like for you to go look up the answer and kind of figure out how someone else. Now again, the solutions that are there might be worked out a little different than the way I'd work them out. Is everybody with me on that? But it's still a guide for you to kind of check your work and make sure you're understanding. Is everybody with me? So your job right now is to open up your book. All right, open up your book that's on your iPad. Where's your iPad? Yeah, always bring your iPad. All right. Now everybody get out their iPad, get up and open their book, and then go to this page. Go to this page, which is page 43, and get started with the homework. All right? Does anybody have any questions what they're supposed to be doing? Yes.
I don't have questions on
Yeah.
password.
Yeah, mine's on.
Yeah,
Mine.
Was it working the other day, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to call